And we are live. Jim, how's it going?
Very good. How's your Saturday?
Good. Normal day. 12, 13 conversations with entrepreneurs already. So it's awesome, man. Having a really good time. I appreciate you jumping in and joining the conversation. What are you working on? What are you up to these days? What's got you excited?
Well, I'm pretty excited about this NC Idea grant we just got. It's going to allow us to create what I've stolen the term a pre-accelerator. So a 10 week program on the basics of entrepreneurship. So maybe one of our companies will eventually get into a real accelerator like a Techstars.
Yeah, yeah,
We have
yeah,
so many first-time entrepreneurs. What we're trying to do is to fill the gap of their knowledge about the basics, because we don't get a lot of MBAs that move to Wilmington. Those MBAs tend to move to Charlotte and Raleigh and
yeah,
Boston.
yeah.
But we're just trying to shore up some of the gaps in the knowledge base of our entrepreneurs.
What are some of the themes you see in those gaps that you need to fill?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we have a whole lot of sales experience. I mean, especially big dollar deals, that's a real challenge.
Yeah,
Is how do we, somebody may have sold a few websites at $10,000, but to scale, you need the big 6-figure contracts, and
yeah,
that's a real problem.
yeah, yeah. You and I have had a couple conversations recently. We talked a little bit about sort of the fragmented nature of different ecosystems in different cities, and curious just to have you talk a little bit about what you see there. I mean, you've got Wilmington, which is a great area, phenomenal entrepreneurs coming out of that. You've got Raleigh, you've got Atlanta, you've got Charlotte, but for some reason, you don't hear about those other areas unless you're in those areas. So love to hear your thoughts on that and maybe some things we can do to improve.
Yeah, I don't. There's not a statewide ecosystem. There's not an organization that oversees an ecosystem, and I don't know. I guess other states have something like that. I'm not
Mm.
sure what. I mean, let's be frank. There's not much outside of Atlanta in Georgia, right?
Yeah,
There's some in Savannah. There's not a whole lot in South Carolina outside of Charleston, although the
yeah,
other cities are trying.
hmm,
So, what is the model to get to inspire statewide entrepreneurship? And I don't know what that is. There's not a national organization, there's not a statewide organization. So, what would it take to for NC Idea to not have a heavy hand in an ecosystem, but how do we inspire the other parts of the state that, I mean, I think, if we could get 5 cities in North Carolina to have somewhat equal ecosystem output,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
then we would move up these state ratings. Like,
Mhm.
I lived in Charlotte. I got some buddies in Charlotte, but they've got a little ways to go to really, outside of Avid Exchange.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a $1 billion company that just announced. I don't know if you saw that. They just announced they're heading towards an IPO. But
Wow.
I mean, that company's been around for 20 years with over, right, they have to be approaching $1 billion invested.
Hmm.
If you're at $1 billion invested, how do you exit that? That has to be a high dollar IPO just to get out of that, right? You
Yeah,
know,
right, right,
I
right.
mean, if I had to look at it, I mean, I get in a lot of trouble for this, but I'll do it on your show anyway. How does Wilmington leapfrog Winston-Salem and Greensboro to become the third best ecosystem in the state? It makes no sense at all. Like, their ecosystem's been around for 25 years. They've had several
Yeah,
organizations, and one of the problems is that these cities don't support the ecosystem when the recession hits. All of the support goes away for those
mm,
organizations, except for in Raleigh Durham.
Yeah.
CEDs never really lost their funding. They may have, their staff has gone up and down, but if you look at it, it has to be one of the most consistent organizations in the country,
Yeah.
and mostly because they have no public funding at all. It's all
Yeah.
privately funded.
I think that, and there's been a lot of conversation about crowdfunding and all this Reg CF stuff. I really feel like getting crowdfunding out to the population in these regions will help us come together collectively and as communities to support and to have peer support. And I think that can help spread this. Let's work together. Let's support each other. It doesn't need to be the VC checks. If we're all as a community doing a CF around, I think that is a path to get us there organically. If all my buddies are all jumping in on some groups that are in Wilmington or shit, even in Atlanta, then like that could inspire some things sort of through a network effect. Do you think that is that close? Does crowdfunding get us there or help get us there?
Well, I think it's a help. I think the way I think about crowdfunding is just like anything else with the Crossing the Chasm book. How do you get those early adopters to have enough of an impact that it gets to a mainstream? And that hasn't happened yet. And North Carolina is ultra conservative fiscally. And until it hits the mainstream, I used to tell a joke that in Charlotte, it would become a trend as soon as 51% of the rest of the country, it was a trend there, then suddenly the trend would shut up in Charlotte. Well, at 51%, you're starting the decline, right? It's already the trend, the upward trend of any fashion or, any music or whatever. You're already on the downside by the time it hits your radar in a city that it's not the norm already. So it's just and I don't know, Luke, I'm not sure how long you've been in North Carolina, but North Carolina, before RTP was developed in the 50s, North Carolina was the second poorest state in the whole country. Only trailing Mississippi was the poorest. But North Carolina was the second poorest state per capita in the country, and RTP was developed to retain the brains that were graduating from the universities. So how do you create the jobs that they want and stay for? And the idea was, they recruited these big companies to have a research campus, and hopefully eventually that would spin out into new companies and keep that. So again, that gets back to the conservative nature of the region, and and so does banking, quite frankly, right? If you're a conservative region, then banking and insurance sure makes sense as a cluster industry.
Yeah, interesting. So for startups, entrepreneurs in general who are in these places where they don't have ecosystem support, they don't have government support. How do they get out there and be heard? I mean, it's a struggle. Like, I'm from Iowa originally, and that shit's a struggle. And Raleigh, it's less of a struggle because there's a tension to some degree here. So if you're not, other than moving, what can you do as an entrepreneur, as a startup, to get some attention?
Well, it's exactly what I've done in Wilmington. Nothing had ever happened in Wilmington before 2013.
Right.
Live Oak Bank is a publicly owned bank, but it's a bank.
Yeah.
So what I did was I created the coastal corridor, what I call, and I'm coming from Wilmington, and I'm stealing all the resources in Raleigh and in Durham. Yep. So I don't know if you know this, but every year when Bull City Ventures has their event in downtown Durham, I bring 15 to 20 entrepreneurs to that event, and we make it a full day. And we have events and meetings before. I'll take them out to lunch. I'll buy my buddies some beer to come and join us in the triangle. They have a few beers. The conversation loosens up, and suddenly somebody becomes a mentor, and a mentor leads into an investment, and the other way too. The best thing I do, Luke, the best thing I do is I have my events at 4 o'clock on Thursdays. And all of my speakers, guess what? All of my speakers make enough money that they have a beach house.
Yeah.
So if I have an event on Thursday, you can bet they're making it a weekend, and they're bringing their family. And guess what? I hope it rains on Friday, because they ain't going to have shit to do. If they ain't got nothing to do, then my entrepreneurs can give them a call, and they can grab a beer and continue to the discussion they had at my event. And I have made that for the last 7 years. And everybody wins. The entrepreneurs have a good time. They meet a new mentor. They maybe meet a new investor. The speaker gets to spend time at their beach house, which they never do anyway. They never, they cut their workers and grinders, so they never, they may send their families to the beach, but they never go to the beach house themselves. And so, it actually works out for everybody. And that's what I've been calling the coastal corridor. We've done it. Yeah. We've had 60 investors from the Triangle over the last 5 to 7 years. And that has made a huge difference, not only in the capital invested, but the knowledge level at our events. The knowledge level of every entrepreneur has gotten so much better over the last 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a deficiency with the number of check writers, number of mentors, or number of entrepreneurs and makers? Do you think we're fairly well balanced around the area, and we just aren't connecting them very well, or is there a deficiency in one of those areas?
Well, I mean, if you talk to the investors, they always want more density in the entrepreneurs, but with density, will they also find quality? We do need, I don't know, the WREL TechWire just wrote this week that there's 50 different investor groups in the Triangle in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason Kaplane on Twitter had a little kickback to that, saying some of those funds weren't real, but or were dead or something. But the challenge is the bigger rounds, the $10 million round. How would you raise that in Raleigh-Durham? Right. And the problem with that is a company like Pendo. Yeah, we're lucky that Pendo loves, he loves Todd Olson, loves Raleigh, because as a unicorn that they have been offered. I mean, he said it live at Innovate Raleigh conference that he had been recruited to move his company out to Silicon Valley. Sure. And so, if there was someone who wanted a little more amenities in their city or something like that, could they be easily recruited to, maybe a bigger city that has more things to do for the 20-somethings that don't have kids yet? Yeah. But I think you and I have talked about this. You have to. The best way to build your ecosystem is to help your entrepreneurs that you already have succeed, and that will attract other entrepreneurs. It's not something a city can do to recruit. You can't recruit a 5-person startup because they don't have anything to recruit. Yeah. The only thing is the idea of the founder, and at 5 employees, have they really made enough progress that you could justify some incentives that are, all these incentives are salary rebates. They're, it's not a real check that's cut and said, oh, they got $2 million and they got that $2 million in the bank. No, it's a rebate on your salary taxes. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there needs to be more funds, and there could be more density and quality among the entrepreneurs. I mean, I think you've been to 1 million cups. Yeah. We always struggle to find enough entrepreneurs to present. And so, there's both of those that you need more of. Yeah. But we're doing better than most, right? Because if you remember, when CED was at its peak, and I was a good friend of Monica Doss. I heard her say one time that there used to be 25 cities every year that would come to Raleigh-Durham and say, how did you build this ecosystem?
Yeah.
And I don't think CED gets enough credit for their 35 years of existence, of the real strength of this city's economy. Because if you look at the Scott Wingos, who's been around for 20 something years, he's still heavily involved. And if he didn't get something, at least the energy or the give back or something, he wouldn't be involved. He's already, he's already made his money. He's a serial entrepreneur, but he obviously gets something out of it. So, can you replicate what CED does without having 3 tier 1 research universities in your backyard?
Right.
I don't know, but I'm trying to steal their ideas every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Admitted that to them this week.
Yeah. So you said that we maybe shouldn't be recruiting the 5-person startup, but maybe we should. I mean, maybe we should be recruiting entrepreneurship and people who have a desire to be entrepreneur, get them in the early stage. And maybe that's a function of pre-accelerators, getting these people who have an interest and a desire, maybe have ideas. Maybe they don't have the right idea yet, but they've got the characteristics of a solid founder, or they are creative enough, or whatever those things are. So is there an opportunity for us regionally, or whoever's listening in their particular city, to recruit early in the pipeline for entrepreneurship and try to incent them to stay? I mean, we incent companies to come in and stay. Should we have sort of micro incentives for entrepreneurs to come in, and if they stay and build their thing here? Startup Chili does a great thing in Santiago, right? Like, are there things that we should be doing to recruit entrepreneurial minded people when they're really early?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about recruit. Again, is recruiting really the right word, or is attracting them?
Sure.
I have a great story about South by Southwest in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
I've had a theory that for the last 25 years, really talented, pale people in Ohio get on a plane in March and they go to Austin, Texas, and they land in the beginning of spring. And South by Southwest is always around St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
So it's a party.
Yeah.
There's 30,000 people there just wandering the streets that don't live there.
Right.
That go to these great, they see live music at every door they walk down. Yeah. And that happens, every night in Austin. And that is a magnet. That conference is what you're talking about, without doing it as a recruiting, but thinking of it as a magnet and an attractor. But it's not truly recruiting.
Sure.
And again, that guy from Ohio who left the snow lands in Austin, and it's warm and it's green. Yeah. And he goes, why the hell am I living in Ohio? No offense to Ohio, but I can go to North Dakota. I'm a native of North Dakota. Yeah. I was born in North Dakota, so I can make fun of it. And, you land there and you see, beautiful young women walking around, and you've got a young guy who's in North Dakota. Yeah. And he goes, man, what am I doing? Why am I not living here? Yeah. And eventually they figure out a way to live there. Yeah. And if you look what's happening right now what is Austin really doing to recruit an HP, a Tesla, and an Oracle? Or is California just kind of pushing them out, and they're going, well, Austin's a great place because I've gone to 10 South by Southwest festivals, and it's warm, and the taxes, there's no personal income taxes. So, all of that sounds pretty good. Scott Wingo, again, said that this week on Twitter. If you're moving from California to Austin, it's like giving your employees a 10-cent raise, or a 10% raise.
Yeah, right.
They're not paying the personal income taxes.
Yeah. Austin's doing something right, I think. Denver's doing something right, I think. And Miami's doing something right, I think. And probably a combination of California doing some things wrong. I think there's some fatigue in the Valley about the tech bros. Like, I think that it's just fatigued, and people are ready to go to the new thing and the neat thing. And Austin does a good job. Denver does a good job. Miami does a good job.
I don't think tech bros are anything new, but certainly the
Yeah,
cost of living is absurd. The
sure.
cost of everything is absurd. And that's why the salaries have to be so high, and so it
Yeah.
all kind of eats on itself. And the quality of life when you're running from your life with a forest fire, that's not
Mhm.
good. You've
Yeah.
got far left politics that are driving the people that making money is a very important thing to them, and
Right.
the taxation is crazy, and the cost of living, and eventually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you go, well, again, Austin looks pretty good when I go there in March.
Right. Right. Awesome. I
we,
appreciate
we
that.
need we need something like a South by Southwest. And they've tried in Durham, and it hasn't worked, frankly, and they would admit that. But
Yeah.
there has to be, again. I get in trouble every time I say it, so I'll only say it on your show again. Is you got to make Raleigh more fun.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not a. It's not a place that people look forward to visiting. It's. I had. I lived in Charlotte for 6 years, and not many people came to visit. I moved to Asheville, and I had more best friends than I ever had before.
Yeah.
Moved to Raleigh, people didn't want to visit, but as soon as I went to Wilmington, I had a lot of more best friends calling me up. Hey, I want to come
Yeah.
and see you at the beach.
Yeah.
You got to find something to make it more interesting
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
culturally.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, a lot of people talk about other cities and say, it's nice to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. And
Yeah.
Raleigh's the opposite. I wouldn't want to visit, but I like to live here.
Yeah, I mean, we all live here for the jobs and the economy, but eventually as the salaries increase, you gotta improve the amenities as well.
Yeah.
It's really hard to break into the social scene in Raleigh Durham if you didn't go to one of the local universities.
Right.
If you think about it, I've never lived in a place where if you're a senior in college and you graduate, you don't really have to move before you get your first job because all the jobs are here, right?
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
keep your circle of friends and you keep your terrible apartment, but it's cheap,
Right.
and you build your career from there. So you
Yeah.
never have to relocate to find a new set of friends.
Yeah.
You're living it,
Right. Yeah.
but it's hard
Excellent.
from the outside.
Yeah. I appreciate you stopping by today, Jim. This is a lot of fun, a ton of value as always. I always appreciate our conversations. I'd like to leave it to you. Any words of wisdom, pieces of advice, or anything else you wanna get out there?
Hey, what I got to say today is go Gators. Please pray for us. We're going to get wiped off the face of the earth. So
Yeah.
with that, I'll have my Guinness, and I'll start my evening.
Good for you. Enjoy your weekend. Good luck to the Gators. I'm an Iowa guy, but I can still have love for the Gators. So I've been to a couple bowl games out back, and we split a couple
Yes.
good.
You had a dominant offensive lineman that just crushed us all game. I remember that big dude. He got drafted. He was massive.
Yeah.
He was, as they say, corn-fed in the Midwest.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, there's a few of those. Iowa's got the championship against Michigan, so a little bit of a surprise this year. We'll see how that goes. The basketball season's doing pretty well, but yeah, man, enjoy your Guinness, enjoy your weekend,
right.
And I'll chat with you soon. Thanks again for stopping by.
Sure, man. Thank you.